Okay, this is just first of all, a trigger warning to anybody that wants to watch this. I want to get off my chest a bit of a story about me and what's brought on all my issues related with PTSD. So yeah, I apologise if any of these stories cause anybody any issues, and if they do, please seek out your support team, because I don't mean to bring anybody any ill health, but I really need to get it all off my chest, and it's taken me a long time to build up the balls to do it. So here goes. Okay, so okay, my name's Stuart. I'm 36 years old. I live in Queensland, in Ipswich, in Australia. I'm a father. I have 4 children of my own and 1 stepdaughter. I'm married, and yeah, that's me. But yeah, so back in 2000, I joined the ADF, Australian Defence Force. I started off in the Air Force and went over to the Army in 2001. August 2002, I was based at Singleton, and we're doing a routine pack march while putting a backpack on, which seems very silly and straightforward. I managed to lift the backpack over my head and let it slide down my back. As it's gone down, it's actually I managed to hyperextend my back or something, like compress my spine, and end up damaging my spine. So it was, yeah, August of 2002. I was taken to a platoon that holds guys that are injured. I was there for another 6 months. One of the first traumatic things that happened was the death of a soldier called Private Williams. Private Williams. I met him on a Friday afternoon. He'd just been pulled out of a training course for shin splints, and he was brought into my section, and so he's come into our lines. I've just, met him, showed him where he could put all his gear, where he'd be sleeping and everything, and told him that I was going on weekend leave and that I'd see him on Monday. Thing was that as soon as we all left base, which was literally straight after meeting him, he ended up getting his toggle rope and hanging himself from the tree just outside our room. And yeah, it's weird. I was the last person to talk to him before he was killed, until he killed himself. Yeah, I don't know him. I never did know him. I only met him, but it was still a bit of a shock. If we go back to 2001, when I transferred over to the Army, on the second day of being in the Army, my childhood friend, my best friend through high school and everything, Greg, he was killed in a car accident, and I wasn't able to attend that, to his funeral. So I carried a bit of grief for that. But yeah, so I forgot about that part. But anyway, so back to 2002. We went on Christmas leave and came back mid-January 2003, and that's when I was assisting on the bayonet assault course, throwing smoke grenades and firing off blank rounds just to simulate a battlefield. And I witnessed a soldier being assaulted quite severely by his corporal. He was beaten quite severely and had to be transported by ambulance, which were pretty much told not to intervene, but it happened. That section commander ended up being charged for assault down the track. And it's just something I guess you couldn't really get away with. But anyway, so yeah, not long after that, I was told that I was being discharged medically and sent home. So I didn't want to be discharged. I opted to call transfer. Hell, I was happy to ride a desk just to stay in. But anyway, so I was sent home and pretty much lived like alone. I became a chronic alcoholic, and I remember one such night that I just drank so much that I remember waking up covered in vomit and getting a taxi and just going straight to Department of Veteran Affairs and walking in still covered in vomit and pleaded for help. That was the first sign of any form of mental illness for me. It also started the long journey of recovery, I guess you could say, and treatment. So anyway, so between 2003 through to 2007, I went through many failed relationships that all ended because I fought, argued, and could never see sense in anything. I got into lots of trouble with the law. I just lost myself, I guess. In 2008, after a failed relationship, I moved to Darwin on 2007. 2008, I decided to try doing security in Darwin, in Northern Territory in Australia. First job I got was with a company looking after housing commission sites, like big complex sites with many people. This was very dangerous work, and that's where I first got a lot of traumatic experiences, I guess you could say. Witnessed firsthand, a dead body that was quite old. I'd been there for a while. That never really, I don't believe that affected me. Just did what we had to do and contacted who we had to contact, and that was it. There was another moment, and this is a pretty serious thing I'm about to say, and I do hope that it doesn't affect anybody the way it affected me. But we were driving past one of the sites that we looked after, and it was a very dark night, and there was an ambulance vehicle parked in the court in the middle of the actual complex. Had its lights on, and it was all open, but there was no one around it. So my colleague and I, we went in thinking, oh, well, this is our area of responsibility. We'll go in and just suss out, make sure everything's okay and that the ambulance officers are okay. So we went in, and there was no one around. It was really eerie. So we went around the back of the building where it was pitch black. It was like covered in trees and stuff like that, so it was very, very dark. And you could see torchlight. So and a bit of commotion. So we went down there and were confronted with two ambulance officers who were treating a naked lady who had from the shin down on her right leg was only hanging by her skin, and she was screaming and all that sort of stuff. I automatically said, what can we do to help? Because obviously they were struggling to get the situation sorted. There was a bit of commotion and everything like that. So they said we needed someone to hold the leg. So I just jumped straight in. I didn't think twice. A colleague, he kept circling us to make sure that no one was going to try and attack us. And I jumped down in front of this patient and picked up her leg and sat there trying to line up the bone so that they could splint it. And the whole time I'm just getting squirted with like arterial bleed. It was almost like a movie, and just bizarre. What I found out later, after she'd been transported, was that she unfortunately was gang raped. And the way that she escaped was she ran and jumped off the 4th-story balcony, completely naked, and she hit the ground and hurt herself quite severely. Anyway, so the people, well, at the end of the day, the guys that did it, they all got arrested and charged, and she was left with quite severe long-term injury. Then again, I never really had, I still don't believe I have problems with that. But it was later on, we were, like, a matter of weeks later, we were doing a patrol of the exact same complex, me and a colleague of mine, and come across this gentleman. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning, and so technically, at that stage, if you're in the complex and you're not living there, you're trespassing and you have to be moved on. So we spoke to this guy, and he was quite polite and courteous, and he didn't really have any problems. So naturally, we dropped our guard, and just out of nowhere, he turns to my colleague and goes, "Fuck, you're short," and just punches him right in the head. I've gone to wrestle this guy, and he just flung me off like I'm just nothing. And he just repeatedly punched my colleague in the head constantly. My colleague tried to fight back. I was carrying a mag light at the time, a big solid metal torch. At this stage, I was pissed. I was angry. I come running up and I hit him square in the side of the head with this torch, and it just did nothing. It just seemed like I tried, like, time and time again, just to get in there, just to get him off my friend, who was bleeding, and it was a mess. It was shit. What saved us, I guess, was that this police car just was, what it was a senior sergeant was showing around another senior sergeant. So, we're talking about like the boss guys, like the section commanders, so the guys in charge of the shift commanders. They were showing each other, well, the one guy was showing the new one around these different sites that were bad news. Just happened to be driving in and saw us, and I just remember he opened up the back door somehow from the inside and just yelled out, "Get in!" So I've just run straight up and just body charged this dude enough to knock him out, like knock him back. I've grabbed my colleague and I've dragged him, and we've just dived straight into the police car. And there's just blood just pissing out from his throat. So I'm sitting there holding this guy, like holding my old mate's friggin' neck, and the coppers just gun it and they tear out of there. In the end, it took 10 coppers. They tased him, maced him, and just to get him in the back of the police car. We found out later that he was on ice, and yeah, there was absolutely nothing I could do. It was just, I don't know what would happen if that police car didn't pull in. My colleague, he had a massive concussion and quite a large gash under his chin, but he was alright. And old matey went away for assault. Problem I had with that was I was just felt so guilty, and I was already suffering from depression, from years of pain from my spinal injury. I was living off. I was addicted to tramadol at this stage, so I was all living off that shit like it was Tic Tacs. And I ended up asking for help through Veterans Affairs and stuff, and I had some hypnosis, and that was quite successful. I stopped having bad dreams, and I was waking up just thinking, I kept dreaming that I just couldn't get to him. Anyway, so the hypnosis was great. It got me back to work and stuff like that. Anyway, so fast forward it to 2010. Relationship broke up again. I was moved back to Brisbane in Queensland. I ended up meeting my now wife later that year, and we started dating. And that's when everything went to shit. 2011, 2012, major down points in my life. I started getting, reflux, stomach ulcers, put on massive amount of weight, got up to 116 kilos, now 90, so I've lost a heap, but I've gained so much. Couldn't work, couldn't do anything. 2012, big year. I had to have a spinal fusion of the L5S1 due to the injury. 2012 also, we decided to get married. And later that year, I attempted suicide. I was caught by one of the security guys, the train tracks. Police took me to the hospital, where I stayed there for quite a few hours under a suicide watch before being returned home the following day. And so I was on copious amounts of friggin' medication. In July of 2012, I got into an argument with my wife and I assaulted her. That was the last straw for me. I ended up dumping all the medication into the toilet and became quite sick. It's just like spiraling out of control. And over the next 2 years, we went into like major money issues, and one of the biggest dramas, or one of the biggest things that happened was, there was a second suicide attempt. I don't remember how I got there. I just remember a police officer grabbing my shirt and ripping me off the roof of a hospital. Just happened to be a former soldier from the same unit that I was in, and yeah, I don't know how I got up there. It was complete blank. I tried trying to remember today at my psychiatrist appointment. It's almost like that whole part of my life is just blank. Don't know how I got there. Just have no idea. They sent me off to a hospital, a mental hospital, where I spent a couple of weeks, which was great. I learned a lot. After I was released and moved back home with my wife and kids, I continued to have these episodes where I would lose my mind. I'd get just cranky and angry and I was quite an asshole. But anyway, I continued support groups, and did different suicide prevention stuff and just different veteran stuff that was on offer, so I did everything I could. And in 2015, I got a job working CCTV for a security firm. And that was really the beginning of the end for my security career. Some of the things I witnessed, really messed me up. And this is what I think is what... originally I was diagnosed with adjustment disorder with severe depression and anxiety. They deemed that back in 2013 due to the pain and suffering and all that stuff to do with my spine and my discharge from the military. They're now saying that it's what I've dealt with during afterwards, and it's compiled into more of a post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm not diagnosed yet. They're actually currently doing all that testing now. Every time I go to psych, they always say, yep, PTSD. And all the arrows point to it. but I don't have anything on paper to say it. I'm kind of optimistic. Anyway, so end of 2015 on the cameras. The one event that really stands out, and I still to this day have nightmares about it, is the one of a young lady who was walking down one of the main streets, and when it's early in the morning, when you're working the cameras, anything walking down the street at that hour immediately gets your attention. So I spun the camera around to see what was going on, when I saw another young fella come running up to her and start pushing her around. Anyway, so I straight away got into the police, and they got there really quick, and pretty much the police officer sent the bloke one way and the girl the other, and then kept on going. I believe he was on his way to another job, so it was more of a stop, tell him all the rack off and then continue on. I continued to watch the young woman because I thought it was a bit sus, and as she's walking you could see that she kept looking behind her, and that's when the bloke come running into the camera and chased her up the street for about a good 100 metres before tackling her. He tackled her to the ground and proceeded to lay into her, and then proceeded to rape her. This is all. We managed to get 3 different cameras onto him to record the evidence. The police were already on the way. They were all alerted straight away. But when you're looking at that stuff and you're screaming at the screen going, please hurry up, because you just want to reach through that screen and just grab the guy, but you can't, and you can't just turn away because you got to record it for evidence and all that bullshit. Anyway, so the police arrive. They wrestle with this guy, get him in cuffs, and female officer's helping up the young lady, and the young lady gets up and punches the female officer, which I don't know, it spun me out. They end up wrestling with her as well. So the only problem with that is that afterwards we had 3 different lots of detectives, because there was apparently 3 different charges. So there was like assault police, assault and rape, and so 3 different detectives, like in couples, they came in. So I was interviewed 3 different times, and I had to go through the footage 3 different times, explaining everything that I did and everything I saw, and relive it 3 different times within one shift. And I can still see it as clear as day. And then other things that I witnessed was a guy hanging himself off the bridge with a dog chain. The police got there just in time to save his life. Another bloke got hit by a car and was thrown up in the air when his leg got ripped off. That was all on footage, all 1080p. Another one that really messed me up now is young girl, like 2, 3 at the most. She almost drowned, and at one of the local swimming pools. And we were scanning this pool, and you could see good 50, 60 people in this pool. It was packed. And in the middle of all these people was this dark spot underneath the water, and I just thought it was a towel or something. My colleague didn't think it was anything, but we just left the camera on it. That's when you see the lifeguard jump in and pull her out by her hair and start CPR. She was underwater for about 3 minutes. Same age as my little girl. She survived. She's not 100%, but she survived. And then, Christmas came and went in early January of 2016. I helped a girl or a lady. She heard this screaming and out of one of the public toilets near our office, and I was on duty doing foot patrol. So I've gone in to the toilets, and she was trying to commit suicide, and I talked to her, tried to calm her down long enough until they could get a police officer in there. And we ended up escorting her over to the mental health ward at the hospital. I wished her the best of luck and everything, and left. That afternoon she assaulted 2 members of the staff, and then only about a week later she tried to stab herself and another person in a kids' park. And we got all of that on tape. And shit's messed up. What killed my career in security was in the last day I worked on security, because I quit after this. I'd just done a patrol in a car, and I was driving back to the office when I saw all these cars lined up on the bridge, and I thought, shit, there must be another dude hanging or jumping or whatever. So I swung the car around, and as I pulled up, there was a guy laying on the ground. He'd been hit riding a motorbike, and he was twisted with twisted in a way that you could almost say that his head was facing the wrong direction. And he was still alive, and he was screaming. And I froze, and I could feel this tightness in my chest, and there's a police car coming the other way. So I waved him in, and he's pulled in beside me, and I've just floored it, went over the other side of this bridge, pulled over on the side of the road. I radioed through to my office and said, I need a minute. They had the whole thing on camera. And I proceeded to have my first I ended up quitting, and for a good 6 months after that, I could not go into the city. Every time I went in there, I felt like I was having some form of asthma attack. So yeah, my situation as it is right now is I've completely gone away from that. I'm doing install car stereos and car accessories now for a major company in Australia, and keep myself busy that way. We've moved out of the city now, living out sort of in the scrub, in the bush. Yeah, away from all that. The problem is now is the nightmares. I hear a noise at night and I'm awake. So I want to get better. I wish there was a way you could say I want to cure PTSD, a cure, adjustment disorder. It's like saying, oh, I hope they find a cure for cancer. I'd like to see a cure for PTSD. I'd like to see a cure for the fact that I can't get a full night's sleep, for the fact that I can't spend a day without getting angry at random stupid stuff. Spend a day not yelling at my kids or growling at the dog. Yeah, they need to create a cure for PTSD. Anyway, I wanted to do this. I'm sorry if it bored you. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of other things too that have happened to me. That's just the first sort of stuff that could come to mind. And it's funny because I feel ashamed of being labelled with PTSD, because I've got a lot of mates that, they served overseas and they've served in the military and they've served in police force. My dad did 30 years as an ambulance officer and he has post-traumatic stress. He has a life experience that it's almost like he unfortunately earned that right to say he has post-traumatic stress disorder. I don't feel like I earned that right. I don't want it. I wish I never. I wish I was never told by anybody that I may have it, because I don't want it. I don't see it as a glorious thing, but in saying that, I don't want to take away from someone else who definitely has it the right for treatment as well. Yeah, I'll end it at that, because I feel like I'm maybe rambling and I don't want to bore you guys. Yeah, but yeah, thanks for watching this. If you watch it, you're welcome to shoot me messages if you want to. Don't feel upset if I don't reply. I tend to shut down. Medication I'm on also helps me sleep. Helps me get to sleep. Doesn't keep me asleep. But I'll be taking that very soon. So if someone does reply to me tonight, I probably won't reply. At least until tomorrow. But anyway, I'll stop rambling. But thank you for watching this, and yeah, we'll do it again sometime. Alright, thanks, bye.